There we go. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Love Speaks Love. Thank you to those that are joining us live and to those who will join us on the replay. I'm just going to double check on my phone that we are live and just share.
Oh,
there we are.
I'd like to.
I've tagged you.
I'm going to stop video for a second so I can share it out without.
No worries.
Are you still there?
Yep.
Yeah, without people seeing my fingers fumbling around.
Oh, it's very difficult to focus today. I'm finding. I think there are strong solar flares today.
I've heard that, yes.
And the energy just feels really, really strong.
Okay.
Right, that's me done.
All right. Yeah.
Done with the admin. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, Love Speaks Love is a platform for people to share experiences, their wisdom, ceremony, sometimes activations as well. And it is a year since it was birthed. It was a year today that I announced its presence. And guess who was my first guest on the 16th of December last year? Ta-da! Oh, you might be on that side.
Yeah. Yay, I'm so excited.
Yay, welcome back, sweetheart.
Thank you so much for having me. What an honor. I did a quick live just a little bit ago and was just like, I'm going to be on Denise's show. And I was so honored to be her first guest. So I'm so grateful for that. Such a beautiful connection that we share. I love you so much.
Yeah, I love you too. Shavani Kumara, I was just saying that it takes me a little bit to kind of to fully register new names and remember them. So I will do my best.
Yeah. Imagine the people that have known me for 40 something years. What?
Did it take you a while?
I definitely had a lot of resistance to changing my name for sure. It was a bit of like an ego death actually, because I really identified with Shelley Sol, you know. That was an evolution for me in itself. But then, I'm Miss Sunshine. I'm going around and I'm smiling. I'm making people, remember and happy and joy. And then they're like, what's your name? And they're like, Shelley Sol. Because then like soul, like S-O-U-L. I'm like, yeah, well, that too. But no, like soul, like sunshine. So when, all that came through for me to release that, I did have a lot of resistance. I was like, but I like that, but that's not me. That's not who I am. We are all and nothing. So it was really about being in this place of surrender to an attachment to anything, even, that as we have identified ourselves. So yeah, it was very powerful.
Interesting. I might go a little further with that in a second or two, but I'm just feeling that I would like to bring us all together in our heart space while people are joining us. So I invite us all to bring our awareness to our heart space in the center of our chest. And let us all breathe in love, breathe out love. So breathing love into every cell of your body. And feeling our hearts connecting as one. Recognizing that they are all beating as one in one unified field of love. So all of us feeling that connection together, either live or on the replay, and on YouTube. And connecting our hearts now to the heart of Gaia, Mother Gaia, excuse me. So just extending our awareness to the very heart of Gaia in the center of the earth. And feeling our awareness anchoring into her beautiful heart. And feeling her love and her recognition pouring into our bodies, going up through our feet and our tailbone, our hands, moving into every cell, and feeling that love and that recognition and appreciation and gratitude for all of us, for all that we are, all that we do. And connecting our hearts to the heart of the sun. And feeling those solar rays. So if you're not actually physically in the sun, or if the sun has already set, we can still receive the beautiful solar energy. And I usually feel this entering my body through my solar plexus, which to me is like a solar battery, charging up even in those winter months. And feeling that connection to Source Creator. Feeling that field of unity. One heart, one love. And opening your eyes whenever you're ready. Actually, I'm also going to suggest that we say to our beautiful hearts, I love you. I love
you.
I love you.
I love you.
Okay, so yeah, this has been a big year. It's 12 months since we first connected. I know you've been back on the show since. So tell me more about Shavani Kumara. How did that drop in? And is there a meaning as well?
Yeah, well, I'll try to abridge it. So the morning that the Facebook was flooded with the fact that Ghislaine Maxwell was indicted, I was scrolling through and I happened to see some very, very disturbing images of what has transpired on Epstein Island. And I do a lot of transmuting for the collective, and I feel a special connection with the children. I was abducted throughout my childhood, so I really feel for, the victims of what's been going on. Cancel, clear, delete. Those who have been experiencing the contrast on this planet, especially the children. I'm being very mindful of my words. And so I felt like I wanted to go scream, because that's historically kind of been a way that I have had this big release of these feelings and energies. And, we can't hide them away. We need to bring them up and be able to experience them, feel them, and sit with them for as long as you need to, and then you can release them. And when I went to the young man who's been staying here helping me, I was just like, I just want to give you a heads up. I'm going to go down into the pasture and I may scream, and I just didn't want you to be alarmed. And he just hugged me and he said, I love you. And I was like, I love you. And I felt a softening with that. And as I was walking down, instead of feeling all that anguish and angst and just wanting to scream, I started feeling lighter and lighter and lighter. And I was guided to go stand in the stream. And I start just opening my channel and just emanating out all this love, all this light. And I was guided to put my arms up over my head, and I was stretched almost to the point of discomfort, where I was what's happening here? And they're like, we are increasing your light quotient. And I was like, okay, I was like, wow. And I've been in connection with Rick Jewers and Femke as they've been traveling around, and it always seems to align perfectly when we connect. And Rick had popped back into my field, and it just hadn't aligned yet for us to have a chat. And so I was on my way to Asheville, and we just happened to connect on the phone. And the first thing I say is, well, Anubis has been coming through. I'm like, okay. And he's like, well, that's significant because Anubis was the arbitrator and the, god of the underworld. And right now, all this darkness is coming up. We're shining our light on it, and divine justice is going to be served. And right at that moment, an eagle came and flew and landed on the line. I'm driving right in front of my car, and I was like, okay, there's an eagle sighting, And he's like, well, that's significant because we're in the time of the woes, the fifth trumpet, and the eagle is significant to that. And then this huge stream of light language came through, and he's like, I feel bear energy. And I'm like, well, that's, significant because I live on sacred Cherokee land, and bear is one of my totem. I've had an experience with a bear when I was 3 years old, where a bear sat on my lap and sucked my arm, and just had a lot of encounters with bears. And we got disconnected. I went to Asheville. I parked next to a truck that's got a bear license plate with a head. I go to my divine sister Oshana's house. I see a bear on the way to her house, and then another bear on my way home. And I was just like, this is, oh my gosh, like, talk about signs and confirmations. So the next day, my divine brother Mark and I, we did a bunch of work. We've been doing a lot of quantum work together, doing a lot of planetary shifting of timelines and different things like that. And we went, what was the equivalent of, I can only describe it as like the celestial Akashic records, where it was like a library, but it was like frequencies. It's hard to put it into human words, but I feel as if like we were gone like way longer than whatever time passed here in this earth realm. And I had to like came back into my body really like heavy, hard. And I was just said to him, I have to go now. I must sleep. And I literally shut the phone off, grabbed a pillow, and just laid back, and I slept. And about 3 a.m, I like wake up, which is like the typical pattern for me. And I'm walking into the house, and there's this flashing, and I see a lot of light ships here, but this was not a light ship. And I'm like, huh. And I'm like, and I feel like it's starting to beat my heart. And I'm like, oh, okay, what is this? And I hear, oh, it's Venus. And I'm like, okay, Venus is beating my heart. And then all this light language came through. And the next time I went back to sleep, woke up, did a galactic council call with Oshana. And then afterward we were chatting, and she's like, I had some really unusual sleep patterns last night. I'm like, I did too. So she shared, and I was just like, that's almost exactly parallel to what I experienced, except when I was walking in the house, Venus started beating my heart. And she's like, oh, that's so beautiful. She's like, I'm Oshana Kumara. She's like, Sanat Kumara was an ascended master, Venusian, and he left his place of ascension to come to Earth to help aid in the ascension and the liberation of humanity. And as she was talking, I started hearing the words, I am a Kumara. I am a Kumara. And she's just talking, going on, sharing all, how her name came to her and different things like that. And finally, I was like, Oshana, I keep hearing I am a Kumara. And as soon as I said that out loud, I lost it. I just started bawling, crying. I was like, oh my God, I am a Kumara. And she's like, I knew it all along. She's like, but I couldn't say anything. You have to, feel it and embrace it and embody it on your own. And the next day, we sing back and forth to each other a lot. We speak light language. And she was singing Christ light. And she's like, Shelley, Christ light. And every time she said Shelley, I was just like, ugh. I was like, no, I just was not in vibrational resonance with like the upper bandwidth of frequency I've just been kind of expanded into. And so I was just like, Oshana, sing Shavani Christ light. And when she said, Shavani Christ light, I lost it. I was like, okay, that's my name. And she's just like, well, sit with it. And I sat with it for about a week. And like I said, like I was just sharing earlier, I was like, I had a lot of resistance. I was like, oh, I don't want to change my name, but I am of divine service and I do as I am guided. And I was guided to, release Shelley Sol and, take on, the name Shavani Kumara. So that's it. It's a little long of a share there, but it's kind of significant, I believe, for sure.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And it really fits too. And I think it's interesting with a name change because, when I hear the word Denise, it's the is that gets my attention. And I wonder with Shelley and Shivani, because it starts the same and that's quite a strong start to the word, if it kind of sits more easily as well, because I would imagine changing your name at first, maybe it doesn't, maybe it just immediately sinks in, but people could be calling your name and you're not registering at first because it's been another name for so long. But it's actually
the opposite for me. I can't remember where we were, but my kids were trying to get my attention apparently, and they must have started with, mom maybe, and then Shelley, and then as soon as they said Shivani, I was like, and my daughter was like, I knew she would reply. I knew she would respond to that. So yeah, it is definitely and I hold space. I mean, I know it's a big shift, to know someone as, another name for so long, and they'll be like, hey, I'm changing my name, But I think, for those of us who have the awareness of this ascension journey, and as we are continuing to grow and evolve and expand, it's like, oh, I get it, Maybe not so much the people I went to high school with and things like that, but it's all good. It's all good.
And there's particular resonance with the name. Have you done the numerology?
I have not.
Because that could be interesting as well, to see if the numerology's changed.
Oh,
and see what it is.
Huh. Yeah, very interesting. Well, Shelley's not my legal name anyway. My mom called me, they call me Shelley ever since I was born. But that's not the name that's on my birth certificate. So,
interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So, your room that you're in at the moment, I think you mentioned on the first call, I can't remember if you'd started the work then, but I know I'm pretty sure we talked about it. So yeah, tell me about the space that you're in there and what you've done with it and what you're going to, what you're going to be doing with it.
Yeah. Well, this space was, very much my kid's space and my former husband's space. He, did all his artwork out here, and there was a big divider in the room with black rubber mats. And I've been doing sessions with people, but I've had some resistance to really putting myself out there because I really didn't feel like I had a space that reflected, a sacred space, because it was just like, I don't know, it just was. So I actually was, crazy thing. There was this thing called Camp Disclosure, which they're going to have again next year. That's down in Flat Rock actually. And they had James Gilliland come and lots of beautiful, Z was there, Z Earth Star Healer, and Matthew Moraine. I don't know how to say his last name. Sorry. But I wasn't supposed to go, and it sold out really quickly because of COVID. They could only sell half the number of tickets. And so I reached out to her and I was just like, hey, if you need any help or if there's anything I can help facilitate, let me know. She's like, oh, we've got everything covered. I was like, okay. And so I just let it go. And I was rollerblading one day and I was like, it was a couple days before it was supposed to start. And I was like, I really feel like I'm supposed to be there. And so I'm like, okay, God. I'm like, if I'm supposed to be there, something will manifest, something will align. No joke, 20 minutes later, Marty reached out to me and she's just like, hey, we've got a room. We're not going to be able to see James live because of the restrictions, but we're going to stream it in our room. You're welcome to join us. And then we were going to, I can't remember maybe we're gonna watch the speech or something afterwards. And so I was like, okay, I'm there. And when I got down there, she's like, oh, the person that was supposed to help me tomorrow backed out. So would you come and help me set up, and you know, you'd be able to come to the conference for the day. And I'm like, perfect, wonderful, I would love to. And in her workshop, she did a workshop on sacred geometry. The first man that I met was a gentleman, his name is Gene, and he's a retired, he did building contract work with NASA. And he was just like, whoa, like, who are you? And like, what are you about? And I invited him to come to the sanctuary, but he was getting ready to go back to Florida. And I was just sharing a little bit about my vision for this space, to be able to open this up, to lighten it, to be able to host gatherings, workshops, sound healings, meditation, yoga, small ecstatic dance, you know, and I just share with him my vision. And then there's another room that's over here. I'm like, I'm really seeing like a caretaker's like esque person here, someone who really resonates with my vision. I've got this animal sanctuary here. I'm actually shown a vision of a whole community called Soul Gaia, where healers and people of different modalities come and they have their own personal space, and we have community gardens. And I'm shown this huge vision for this place and this huge expansion. And I'm just like, I'm holding space, and I'm just like eagerly like allowing it to unfold. It's really beautiful. And so he reached out to me. He was over at his daughter's place, and he's just like, hey, he's like, I'd be willing to give up my weekend to help you get started with your project. And I was just like, oh, like awesome. So he came, and man, first thing we had to do was like do the ceilings. They were never finished, painted, and just really finished it. You know, it was more of like a garage that had, you know, a bunch of, you know, workout equipment and mats and things in it. So it's really been a beautiful transformation. And then he left to go back to Florida, and I laid the floor myself. I'm pretty crafty. I'm pretty handy with stuff. I've been, you know, doing a lot of things around this animal sanctuary, you know, by myself or with little assistance. So I'm not afraid to get into a project and do building and different things like that. So I'm really like, hey, I was like, I did it. So yeah, it's really exciting. And we're going to put a door in over there and put in a bathroom, because that's the last little piece I have to really hosting, you know, big, not big, but, you know, gatherings. But in the meantime, I have this beautiful sacred space, and I've been, you know, inviting a few people to come out and to enjoy. And I was blessed. I was so blessed with everything that I needed, like to get like kind of set up with this stuff. My beautiful sister, Reddick Lee, beautiful Ray Lee, she blessed me with 7, you know, yoga mats, 7 blankets, bolsters, eye pillows, all these beautiful plants. She totally set me up. And then I repurposed, this was an old, you know, awful white desk that was in here that I just used to put a grid on, because it was an old school desk and it was all beat up. And Jean made this top for me, and then I finished it, and I painted that and painted the bookcase and put a back on it. And so I've been doing a lot of like, I'm doing all this like amazing like quantum planetary, you know, grid work. And I'm doing a lot of like, not mundane, but definitely like high physically demanding kind of work here at the sanctuary. So it's been an interesting, you know, it keeps me grounded for sure. So that's helpful.
Amazing. Yeah, the energy there just feels awesome. I could feel it. I'm kind of glad you're in there. We started off and Shelley was outside.
Yeah.
But it was breaking up a little bit, so came inside, and it kind of feels right that you're there and actually in that space. Yeah, it feels awesome.
Yeah.
What was the other thing I was going to ask you from that? So yeah, you mentioned Venus before. Can you remember what time of year that was? Because I was connecting a lot with Venus, and I can't remember. I'm not sure when it was.
I'm wanting to say July, but I'm not certain.
Do you know if Venus was a morning star at that time? Because I think she's evening again now, but earlier in the year she was
Well,
morning.
it was about 3 in the morning, and it was huge.
Yeah.
I mean, and low on the horizon.
In the east?
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure it was summer. I'm pretty sure it was around the same time because it was
Hmm.
still really, really long days of daylight, and the sun was, it was already light because the sun was about to come, and
Hmm.
I woke really early one day and looked out the window and I was like, whoa, what is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
And sleep. Sleep for me at the moment has gone really, really strange. I can be a bit of a night owl and I can get quite creative at night, but it's not normally till like 3 o'clock. Like it's now
Hmm.
gone
Yeah.
extreme. Last night was 3:03 when I just decided to see what time it was before I went to sleep, and my phone was on 33%. I was like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. And I was guided. Oh, and it was the 3rd. Was it the 3rd of December? Oh, maybe I just misread that. I feel like there was something else that was adding up to threes. December was a
Uh,
3. Um, but I was just guided to do a little activation. And normally I kind of have to get up for those when I do like language activations. I normally stand for them. But this one I was
mhm.
like, can I do this one in bed, please? So I did that one in bed. But sleep, I'm getting quite wired late at night. I'm hoping it might tail off because I'm tired today. Um, and I've been sleeping in late, but not actually, even when I've been to bed early, I'm like, oh, that's right, I'm supposed to be sleeping. And just lying in bed, like eyes wide open, thinking, I'm not very sleepy. Now, I think Shivani is either very, very still or she may have just frozen there. But I'll continue to um, talk a little bit about the energies. So there's a solar flare. There was the Oh, she's gone. I'm sure she'll be back in a minute. There was a solar flare the other day that was the biggest for a long time. Um, and I think there are more solar flares coming in at the moment. So, from all angles at the moment, we are being bathed in light codes. Um, and for me, there's been a fair bit of discombobulation, would be a good word. I realised starting this call, I was like, because I hadn't really spoken to anyone all day. And starting the call, I was like, oh, technology, yeah, this feels weird. This feels a bit of a challenge to kind of get myself together. Hence why I was late. But then I think I've been late for just about every Love Speaks Love show. And this is show number 65. The last show, which was with Suzanne, and we talked about the 64 codons, and they haven't been mentioned too many times. I'm pretty sure that Robbie mentioned them. But we talked a little bit about the 64 codons, and then I realised later that it was show number 64. Um, so next week, I have my guest booked. There she is. Next week, I have Marianne Savino coming next Wednesday. Hi, your side. That's
Hang on.
yay.
Come on. There we go. Hey, now I can see you big
Ah,
instead of me, which is weird because then I'm like, I don't know where to look all the time. You know what I mean? Oh, that's perfect.
yeah. I think normally on a
How
phone,
do you make it switch?
I think I think when it's on a phone, you can't have it at gallery view unless there's more than 3 people.
Oh,
I think they changed
yeah,
that because
yeah.
you used to be able to, but I think they altered the
Mhm.
settings. Um, so you were talking about screaming before,
Mhm.
and Leilani, I think I've got her name right. She posted a little video of her doing a golden scream in her car. And I was talking to Candice about this the other day, and the need, or the, not keen on the word need, but the
urge.
Yeah, and the relief that you get when you've got all
Yeah.
this stuff inside you. Because this year has been big solar plexus stuff for me. There's been a lot of anger in there, a lot of rage even. Not so much recently, but in the earlier part of the year. And kind of, some reflux and, stomach stuff too, a little bit of heartburn. And I do something that I call the dragon breath to release that, which is where I kind of breathe up from my belly. And it's almost like a hiss. It's like a roar, but it's like a quiet roar. And kind of bring the energy up and really pull a face as well. And I'm going to look to the side. I don't want to actually like go blah to you and to everybody watching.
Oh, come on, Denise. Let's see your big face.
It's more, I don't want to release the energy in that direction. Like I want to just kind of like take it off to the side a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, and this was something that was taught to me by the dragons, which is why I call it the dragon breath. So you kind of like really breathe up from your belly, like, and then I always do something with my hands as well. I always kind of like, and it's kind of like a roar, but a quiet roar, and my hands like release from my hands too. And I'm a big advocate of hissing, because hissing, like when you hiss, it kind of, you can't help but bring your abdomen in when you hiss, so it feels like that comes up from deep.
I feel that.
If you're in like a noise restriction place, it's a good alternative. And the first time when I wanted to scream, and this was years ago, this is when I first moved to Byron, or the second year that I was there, and I tried to scream, but it really hurt my throat. Like after a couple of goes, I was like, oh, that's actually quite sore. So then I started toning, and that's when my singing first started coming in. It was like toning, and I did it into a pillow because I didn't want anyone to hear me. So I did it into a pillow first few times, and then after a while I was just like, oh no, I don't need that, and just let it rip. But yeah, that was when the singing first started. So how do you do yours? You don't have to actually physically. What techniques do you have for that?
Oh, for releasing? Oh, I go out. I gotta take my shoes off so I can bring it through and anchor it, and then I start toning. And I'm so blessed to have all this land, so I can just get really loud with it. In fact, my former in-laws live pretty far away. I mean, it would probably be a 45-minute walk up the top of the mountain. I recently called in a frame drum. I've really been connecting with that energy, especially since I feel like I had incarnated on this land before as a Native American. So I was just like really getting into it. And I'm, really loud, bellowing it out. And when my former husband was here for Thanksgiving, he was just like, "Are you playing a drum?" I was like, "Yeah, I was." He's like, "We can hear you up there, just very subtly." He's like, "I bet that's," he calls me Shelley. "I bet that's Shelley." Yep, it was. So it's all good.
And do you because what I often do in nature or in the house, it's a real foot stomp. And I think ideally it should be like shoes off. So your feet are fully connecting with the earth.
Oh, 100%.
And kind of dancing codes in and just letting whatever sounds want to come through. And some of it, and this started in Byron as well before I actually went to New Zealand. It was a bit like a haka, the New Zealand haka, which is like the traditional Maori greeting. And it's what they do at the rugby as well. And there's a lot of power that comes into that. There's a lot of I feel dragon energy really strongly when they do that. And there's a lot of distortion of the face. And when I'm doing my releases, it's everything. It's my face, it's my body. I'm stamping my feet, it's like you're releasing from your hands as well, like really letting all that down to earth too.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that one of the reasons why we need to do this, why it builds up, is because we don't dance on the earth regularly. And I feel that that's one of the functions of dancing on the earth and connecting to Gaia
Mm-hmm.
and letting those codes come through. But I feel, you know, not you, I know you dance differently, but a lot of us, when we start dancing, we feel awkward. You know,
Yeah.
I know how much you love to dance.
Yeah.
But a lot of us haven't really learned to dance sober either. Like a lot of people learn to dance in clubs.
Yeah.
And it's not, and it's something that people feel very self-conscious about.
Yeah.
And we don't really dance so much when we're younger. And it's not something that we do routinely.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel we're really missing out from that. And
Yeah.
I've been pledging these last couple of weeks because I feel for my body that dancing is probably one of the best things that I can do for fitness.
Mm-hmm.
My hula hoops are still in Australia. I can't like dance with
Oh,
my hula hoops.
yeah. I have groups too.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know you dance a lot. Share about dancing.
Well, it's interesting because I did start dancing in clubs. I mean, I was involved in the rave scene, and I'm really honest with my kids about my experiences. And you know, I was like, I do like a static dance now. I really feel I just like surrender into movement, and I like just have like I just ask spirit to move through me. So it's just like freedom of expression through dance, through movement. When you're like just it's like, you know, I'm bringing through codes and all kinds of things. It's really beautiful. But I was talking to my kids, I was like, man, I was like, for so long, like when I mean, I have like a completely different life than what I'm, you know, experiencing now. And I'm so grateful for the contrast, but I was, you know, I was running away. I had a lot of childhood trauma, unresolved issues. I was shut down, dissociated, non-communicative. I mean, I was pretty much dormant, and I was using, you know, drugs as a way to escape, you know, the pain that I couldn't even really put human words to. And I'm like, man, I was like, the whole time I was like seeking that outside of myself, when all I have to do now is take my shoes off and dance barefooted, naked, ideally, on the earth with the sun. And you are in ecstatic bliss in ways that you can't, it doesn't even compare to whatever I experienced before when I was involved in that, you know, a whole other life. So I'm like, man, don't even mess with that shit, you know, just like meditate and go outside. And I guarantee you, you will feel so alive and so invigorated that, you know, that might have been trying to find that, but there was just this like icky, awful veil of just like a fog that went along with it, where I'm just like, ooh, no, that is, you know, I feel for people. I have so much compassion, because it takes a lot of courage to be able to look at, you know, our shadow side and bring it up and be able to go down, you know, these experiences and bring up these feelings. But my gosh, I promise you, on the other side is it's pure joy, so much love and bliss and happiness, where I'm just like, I thank God every day. Like, thank you, God, for all these experiences that I've had that have brought me here to this now moment. Where, like, regardless of whatever I've experienced, I can be this happy. That's my choice. That's my grace. Oh my God. Wow. It's so beautiful. It's such a really amazing, amazing transformation that I've experienced. There are no words.
I love what you said there about like you are the music, you are the expression of the music, and I very much feel that myself. And it's like I am Gaia being expressed through the music. I am the cosmos being expressed through the music.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting how you can feel your body being moved. For me at the moment, it's my arms. I never used to know what to do with my arms. But of late, and some of it's actually really funny and not something I would necessarily want to be doing publicly.
Yeah.
But it just feels like my body's releasing so much stuff. You know, I'm like cracking here when I'm doing it. You know, my hands are cracking, my shoulders are cracking, everything's kind of releasing as it goes
Mm-hmm.
through. But it's such a beautiful experience when you do that. Like, I'm totally with you. And for me, as I shared with you the other day, it's often New Zealand reggae is probably my first port of call, particularly Fat Freddy's Drop. If anybody out there knows Fat Freddy's Drop, if you don't, I highly recommend them. They are just amazing to dance to.
Oh. My go-to is Desert Dwellers.
Ah,
Love Desert Dwellers. Oh gosh.
check that one out.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and for me as well, doing this in Byron Bay was when the code started coming through. When I started, like, some of the stuff that I do now first started coming in then, and I didn't know what it was. Like, there's this thing where I kind of like do something with my arms and almost like tie a knot. And I was like, why am I doing that? But I just kind of went with it, and it makes more
Yeah.
sense now. Now I kind of get it a little bit more, and it is you weaving energies in, and you are like
Mm.
tying a
Yes.
knot with them. And you've been 1818 as we talk on that. So you and your dear sister have been doing a lot of grid work, a lot of big work that you've been doing, and you've got something coming up this weekend as well. What I'd love to hear more about the energies that you've been bringing in, the work that you've been doing, the clearing and so on, and what you've got coming up.
Yeah. Well, we've been so blessed. She lives about 45 minutes from me. She has a sanctuary on the river. She's got 4,000 feet of river frontage. So it's been just such a beautiful blessing this summer. And we've really been just in this place of surrender. We're both surrendered to be of service, and we're just kind of in the flow. So we'd be like, hey, I'm feeling called to go out today. And we'd be like, okay, which direction? And we'd be like, I think we should go south. And, we would just find ourselves up on the top of these summits, and by water. We did a lot of using the violet flame to purify water all over this area, just qualifying it with, divine love, and seeing it going into all the water all over this planet. So we, yeah, it's powerful, and we've had some just unbelievable experiences, running into a divine brother up at the top of a mountain that's like 45 minutes from Asheville, and just, these crazy, beautiful synchronicities. And we actually were called to go to Washington, D.C. Back in November. And, there's a lot of people who are like, why are you bothering to do light work there? Well, that's where it's needed. I'm not really wanting to go, into that density, but that is what I've been called. And so Oshana and I, we speak, light language, spirit language, and we also do a lot of calls to the ascended masters with I am decrees. She introduced me to them. She was an I am student, I believe, back in the 80s. And they're very powerful calls to, our beloved mighty I am presence, to the great angelic host, to all ascended masters. You are actually making the call to those divine beings who are here to assist us, and they are powerful. So we went to the march, just standing up for our rights, standing up for our Constitution, standing up for our God-given rights. And, this is not a political thing. This is a light versus dark thing. This is a spiritual war that's going on. And I know the light has won, and I know that we're just witnessing, just being in that place of the unbiased observer. And we can shine our light into these places of density. And that's what she and I have been called to do. And so there's another gathering that's happening on 12/12. Not at all where I thought it was going to be, not where I really want to be as like the human Shavani self. I'm like, I would rather be here. But, she and I are kind of like, okay, we're in the flow. Let's check in with this. And she's like, I'm feeling called. And I'm like, I'm feeling called. And then it's just like, okay, be in that place of surrender and be like, okay, well, I'm going to drive 7 hours. I'm going to go into the heart of all this density, and I'm going to shine my light, and I'm going to speak truth. And I know, like, just being in the vicinity of illumined hearts, it ripples out. And so for all those sea of beautiful, God-loving people who are coming to stand up, you know, it's going to make a big impact. I know it is. And so she and I are just like, you know, the last little piece that I'm working on here, or that I'm, you know, releasing is this thing of lack and abundance. And it's just like, well, it's flow. And I've not, you know, I've been in this place of not working outside the home. It's a full-time thing with the sanctuary here, being of service. And I was driving Uber before, you know, COVID happened, and Spirit's just like, no, you're not to do that anymore. And I've not put myself out there to be open to receive an enumeration of the output of the energy that I do. I haven't asked. And that's a piece that I've been working through. And I had a friend that was here. She's like, do you think it's like a worthiness thing? And I'm like, no, it's just like, I have a heart of service. And I mean, I have a degree in sociology and social work. I've dedicated my life to helping. And this whole, like, you know, money thing here on this planet, I just like, you know, but I know it's just currency and it's flow, and I'm working through it. But if we could put a link here, or if anybody felt called to support our journey, because, you know, it's 7 hours there, 7 hours back, a couple nights in a hotel. And it's just like, okay, well, I trust that we'll be provided for. And I just open to receive. So thank you.
Yeah, do put the link in.
Yeah, thanks.
And also, I don't know if it's the same link or if you want to do it separately as well, but for those that don't know, and you've mentioned it a couple of times, the sanctuary that you have there, tell us some more about the sanctuary.
Yeah, they are two separate things. The sanctuary is a nonprofit. I founded the organization in Florida in 2001. I was an animal cruelty investigator down there. And, you know, I had this heart full of love, and I was shut down, you know, to people for so long. And I just poured it out into animals. I've been healing animals and just like a magnet for animals my whole life. And when my former husband and I got together, he's like, you know, what's your bliss? And I'm like, helping animals. And he's like, helping kids. So we simultaneously started two nonprofits in 2001, a nonprofit animal sanctuary and a nonprofit school. And after a real close call with Hurricane Charlie, we moved 60 animals up here in 2006, made an exodus from Florida, and relocated here to the mountains of North Carolina. And when I first stepped foot on this property, I was like, this is the place. And my mom was just like, you're way out here, and are you sure about this? And I'm like, yep, I'm supposed to be here. Well, now I know why. There's portals everywhere and light ships, and like, this is a huge grid point here. And I'm just so grateful to be cultivating, you know, these energies here, this light here. I'm so honored. So the sanctuary, it's you know, it's my passion. And I see now it's just a small portion of what my mission is, what I'm truly called to do here. And, you know, animals, they are unconditional love, you know, just to be in their presence. And I feel such a connection with all animals. I always have. And now that I have this conscious awareness of the connectedness of all there is, I'm just like, oh, I see God expressed in every one of my animals, in every plant, in every tree. It's just like, wow, it is so beautiful. So I'm so honored to be the steward of this land and the caretaker of these beautiful beings. And I am calling in someone who can help, you know, support and facilitate, because my 21-year-old son just moved out. Yay for him. I'm so excited. He's on his way. And he was reluctant to help, but he was still a big help. And, you know, I'm trusting in the perfect person to be magnetically drawn in. And I'm just really seeing, yeah, the beautiful things that are unfolding. Right now, I'm presently caring for dogs, cats, sheep, goats, and a pig. And they are really special beings. And I'm so grateful because so many of them have come from living the epitome of duality, which is kind of what I feel like I have, of living like the shit. And now you're in, like, you made it. You are in this place of love and peace. And that's what is, you know, being facilitated here.
Awesome. How many have you got all together?
I've got 33 right now. Yeah. that's a lot of life force. It's a lot of, you know, little beings that I am in charge, not in charge of, but definitely, you know, it's a lot of output, and it's worth every moment, you know. I'm ready to turn over a lot of the hard physical stuff, you know. I mucked the goat barn out the other day, and I was just like, oh man, you know. But it's all good. It's all good. Yeah.
Do they stay indoors over winter, or can they still go out over winter? How cold is it there?
Well, yeah, it's been down. We've had some days already where it's like feels like 14. No, I mean, I've got 9 goats and 8 sheep. They can't come. They can't come in the house. I would love for them to, if they had better bathroom manners. But they have a barn. The goats have a barn, and the pig is in one corner of it. I'm down to 1 pig now. I had over 20 pigs at one point, and I'm down to just 1. And Scooby, my beloved Scooby, I think I had him 14 years, maybe longer. But yeah, he made his transition this year, and I got to see his light body. You know, when he left, it was the first time I like actually physically, visibly saw it, and I was just like, oh, I don't have to like sob and cry and grieve. You know, you are free. I celebrate you. I mean, I still had to go through my human-esque aspect of it, because it is attachment, you know, like connected in with their physical form. He was such a dear. I would go out and be like, hey, Scooby, and he'd come running, not running, but lumbering over. And then I'd be like, you want a belly rub? And he'd go, and flop over. So yeah, it's like these little, they're all special, you know, they're all so special. You know, which is one of the reasons why I don't eat them. They are my brothers and sisters, all of them. And I have such a reverence for life. And yeah, it hurts my heart still that is a still piece that I'm like working through, just like being the observer to the treatment of animals, especially food animals on this planet, food animals, because they are not that to me. They are my brothers and sisters. They are my loves. They are me. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, because you've talked about the energy at the place where you are.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, when I'm outside, I'll feel things with my hands primarily, and I'll often just know where lines are. I used to go out with my dowsing rods, but I found that I would always know when they were about to, you know, I could feel it before they started moving. So how do you feel? How does energy kind of appear to you?
Well, it's just a knowing. So, and like I said, I am in that place of surrender. So, and you know, spirit's like, you know, go out. Okay. I just start walking. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go. Oh, nope, I'm going this way. And then I'll just, you know, I'll find the perfect spot, and I'll trust that that's where I'm needed. You know, that when Oshana and I were in DC, that's kind of like what we did, because we went there for the march. And then the next day it was just like, you know, you want to go home or you want to go back? Nope, we got to go back in the city. Okay. You know, where are we going? Oh, we're just we'll just go where we're guided. And, you know, when you can just like release and allow in that way, that's when the magic happens, you know? Yeah.
My seeing's got stronger of late, especially the time that I see most is those in between times. If I was up for sunrise more, I might see it more at sunrise, but it tends to be more at sunset and after in the dark. And it's always been like if someone had a black background behind them, I could see that aura much more clearly than if it was a paler background. But it's always been at night that I will see things more. And I think for me as a child, I always did, and that was why I was so scared of the dark, because you'll see it with your periphery. And I've learned to be able to see more strongly with my periphery, like it's almost as strong, my peripheral vision, as my front vision now. So I can kind of be looking there, but I'm seeing here a lot more than I used to be able to. But I'm finding, and I feel this is not just me, I feel this is like a universal thing, that those messages are getting stronger. So our vision's getting stronger, our hearing's getting stronger, our telepathy's stronger too, like everything. And that knowing, that inner knowing, there's no doubt anymore. Like it's just in there, and you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know Simone Silk? Are you friends with her?
I know the name.
Well, she was going down to Greenville, and it just aligned for her to come visit me at the sanctuary here. And we had an amazing day together. And she's like, I got to get on the road before it gets dark, because it's a windy mountain road. It takes like 15 minutes to get up to my place from, you know, the little town that there is, you know, up the windy road. And she got to not quite to the end where you turn onto the main road for the 15-minute journey down the mountain. And something happened to her oil pan, and all the oil of her car spilled out, and she was stuck there in the middle of the road. And long story short, I'm like, okay, well, we weren't done yet. Come back to the sanctuary. I'm like, I'm sure something's in store for us, you know, tonight. I'm like, okay, we'll see what unfolds. Well, there was light ships here like you would not believe. And, you know, I see them, I feel them, you know, but I've not historically had a phone where I could capture them on video, you know, and I'll call my kids. I'm like, yeah, there's light ships out here. Oh my gosh, look at, you know, and they're like, oh yeah. I mean, they see them, but you know, a lot of times I'll perceive them, but you really can't see them, you know, with your eye. But I'm like, there's light ships there. And they're like, okay, moms, talk about the light ships again. Well, it was so confirming, because Simone got an amazing video of one of the light ships. And when I showed my daughter, I was just like, look, she captured one on film. And she was like, her face was like, oh, damn. She's like, that's really a light ship. I'm like, see, I'm like, I told you. And she's like, I believed you. I'm like, I know, but there's something about really like physically seeing it, like, you know, that really just like, wow, like there are our beautiful brothers and sisters are here. They are celebrating us. They are celebrating what is happening on this planet. We have been liberated. And just stay in your heart space, my loves. Just stay in your heart space, and just know that the light has won, and just you have to trust God's plan. And so I am.
Thank you, beautiful.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Would you like to share any light language? Are you feeling that today, or is there something else you'd rather do?
I actually was feeling called, if time allowed and it unfolded, to speak a decree. This is a decree for the perfection. It's supposed to be of the group, but I just say a decree for the perfection of all. Would that be all right?
Absolutely. Please do.
Okay. Beloved mighty I am presence, higher mental bodies of all mankind, all great beings, powers, and legions of light, charge, 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 all under this radiation with the most dynamic victory and perfection of the Ascended Master's cosmic Christ light, purity, power, speed, action, force, lightning, and momentum of the blue flame of 1,000 suns, and the most gigantic release Earth has ever experienced. Increase it billions and billions of times more each hour. Beloved great divine director, set aside the action of time and space and fulfill all our decrees instantly and keep them invincible against all evil forever. Great beings from the central sun, supply whatever else is lacking to make up for those who should be calling. Seal all here under this radiation within the Ascended Master's crystal cup of 1,000 suns, and govern everything harmoniously until our ascension. Beloved mighty victory, charge all thy cosmic power of the crystal cup before us all, and keep clear our way. Compel its perfection into action with the power of 1,000 suns in all we do until our ascension. I command it in the name and authority of my beloved mighty I am presence forever, and it is so. Release billions and billions more of the cosmic Christ, blue lightning, purifying love of 1,000 suns than is required to do all for which we call, and hold it eternally sustained and ever expanding. Charge all under this radiation with the Ascended Master's loving cooperation in all we do until our ascension. Almighty I am, Almighty I am, Almighty I am.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think we just said wow in sync.
Yes. So beautiful.
Shavani, I love you.
Denise, I love you.
Oh, my hands are really hot. There's a lot of energy flowing through. Thank you so much.
It is my honor. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to connect. I'm so glad it aligned today. How perfectly beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely perfect. And thank you to everyone who has been with us. Thank you for all your beautiful comments. I will read them all properly later on. So this is the only Love Speaks Love that I have planned for this week. Next Wednesday, I think it's Wednesday, is Mary Ann.
Oh, I love Marianne.
I know.
I love everybody.
Yeah, so thank you all. Actually, I've been starting just because I do the ceremonial bit at the beginning, and I would like to just bring our energy back to our heart space at the end.
My feet on the ground.
Just a little one, just to kind of bring our awareness back to our hearts, and feeling that grounded and anchored connection to Gaia, to Gaia's heart, and just feeling the energy that we've brought through today from Shavani, from myself, and from everyone that's joined us. Feeling that beautiful love and energy anchoring into the heart of Gaia. Thank you, everyone. Love, love.
Mwah.
Love, 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 love. See you soon.
Love, love, love.